Hi, I'm Grateful Ted. Thanks for being here because I really appreciate the time that you invest in watching these videos. Now, a few weeks ago, I put up a vlog and I requested that you guys ask me questions. I would answer them all. I was hoping for 20 at minimum, and unfortunately, I only got 14, but I'm going to answer them all before this video's over. Okay, so let's go. Question number one. And question number 1 and 2 is from another vlogger. Her name is Carrie, and her vlog is called It's a Carrieful Life. And I'll put a link to her channel down below. She and her husband John do camping videos mostly. So her question is, what's the reason you started your channel? And I think looking back on it, it's that I wanted something to do after retirement. I retired a little bit, almost 10 years ago, and after about a year or so, maybe 2 years, I was temporary executive director of the local senior center, but it was a part-time job until they found a permanent one. And so I wanted things to do. And it was suggested that maybe I should do a YouTube channel. Now, I don't know a lot of stuff, and so I figured out, well, you know, what could we do? And I talked to Debbie, and she said, well, how about doing videos of traveling and all the events we attend? So I created a travel and events video. Now, Carrie's second question is, what's your vision for the channel? And this is a complicated and personal response. Originally, I vlogged all the places Debbie and I went. Debbie was fundamental in making this channel. She looked for things to do in the Portland metro area. She made suggestions. She filmed me in the vlogs. There was a whole bunch of stuff that she did. She helped pay for going and coming and all the events, and you know, she helped with the expenses. And then a year ago, she passed away, and it's been really different since then. So, Carrie, in what is my vision for the channel, I think if I didn't have this channel, I'd just be sitting in a chair staring at the computer screen all day. So I think whatever vision I have is just to keep going, just to keep attending events, just to keep traveling. And of course, a couple of weeks ago, I traveled down to Texas, done a couple of videos on that. You can see one of them right up here, and so there's that. Another thing is that in visioning, I just want to be present every day. Not every day on YouTube, but I just want to be present every day in my life. And that has an impact on my vision. One of the things I'm thinking about is that, you know, I'm going to be 76 here in a couple of months, and I wonder how long I'll be able to continue to travel and go to events. And what do I do when it's too much for me to do that? One of the things I'm thinking about is doing talking head videos like this on various subjects. But you never know. Buddhists have a saying, the trouble is we think we have time. And Debbie passing was a real awakening to that saying. And so if all of a sudden you don't see my vlogs anymore without me saying goodbye, I think that it's probable that I've either had something real medical emergency and I'm in the hospital, or I've died and I didn't get a chance to say goodbye to you. The next question is from Mr. Pootson, and his question is, have you ever thought about going to Burning Man? He thinks that I would make a great video of it and that I would have a good time. And I have to say, yeah, I've thought about it. In fact, I have a friend of mine, he's a Frenchman who lives in Paris, Codex Urbanus, and he goes almost every year. And I've talked to him about that, and I'm going to continue to talk to him. But while Debbie was around, she thought it was too much for her, and I didn't want to go by myself. Well, now I'll have to go by myself. And so I'm going to talk to Codex Urbanus again, and we'll see what happens. Not sure I'll make it this year, but if I'm around next year, it could be that I'll go. Next, we've got one from Annette's Van Tees. Now, Annette and I have met. She's another vlogger. I'll put her link down below. She's a van lifer. And she'd like to know what's my favorite destination to all these that I've been to. And I have to say, it's basically a tie between Paris and Florence, Italy. That actually was the last trip that Debbie and I took together. So yeah, that's I think that's my two favorites. There's a tie. Here in the U.S., I always enjoy going to the Oregon Country Fair. People stop me and let me know that they've enjoyed the vlog. So I get to see people who have actually watched me. I get to see them live. So I like that here. There's that. The next question is from Leon Fanlek W4Y. And I'm not sure how it fits in here, but I'm going to try to answer it the best I can anyway. And he wants to know, how can he stop being a bully? And the quick and easy answer to that is, all you have to do is change your mind. But it's a little more complicated than that, obviously. Now, what the brain does is it processes electrical signals from all over the body. And that includes thoughts. Thoughts are just electrical signals in the brain, and that's all they are. And so technically, thoughts don't exist. I know they feel real, but they don't exist. They're just electrical signals in the brain. And so you don't really have to believe what your mind tells you. You can learn to stop and watch what the mind is doing and not have to react to that. Thoughts don't exist, and you don't have to believe what your mind tells you. So that helps you change your mind, and you could stop becoming a bully that way. And Shays01 wants to know what I did to celebrate May Day. Well, Scott, I have to tell you that I was on the road. I was down in Texas. I was with a bunch of people who were there for, I guess you could call it a festival. And so I didn't have a chance. I didn't have a car. I didn't have a chance to do anything by myself. And so I had to wait until I got home that evening. And when I was sitting on the bed by myself, I played the band called Hardworking Americans. They played Randy Newman's song, Mr. President, Have Pity on the Working Man. And I listened to that. I listened to Buffalo Springfield's For What It's Worth, and I listened to John Lennon's Imagine. So that's what I did for my May Day. So I've got a couple of questions from a vlogger that we subscribe to one another, and his name is Espanjohan, and his vlog is all about cameras and vlogging equipment and those sorts of things. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, I'm putting his link down below as well. But he wants to know how I plan my videos and what are my plans for the future. And I've sort of covered that second one, but I'm going to go into it a little differently for this one. But how do I plan my videos? I see what's happening either locally or in within drivable distance. And I check the state's largest newspaper because they have a lot of things that are going on around the state. I check the local newspapers, and it's an event and a travel channel, so that's what I'm really looking for. I've got some places that are within maybe an hour and a half that I'd like to show you guys, and I'll probably do that throughout the summer when I'm not at events. I've got some Renaissance fairs coming up. I've got the Oregon Country Fair. So there's a lot of that. But how I plan my videos is the event or the travel. Now, once I get there, I'm thinking about how I'm going to edit this while I'm shooting it. That's always very important. I don't have it planned ahead of time. I never have anything planned ahead of time. I'm in the moment as it happens. But I do think about editing, which is a future thought, okay? Also, he wants to know about the future. And one of the things that has been going through my mind is having another talking head video like this where I talk about the difficulties and realities of having a small YouTube channel. If you're interested in hearing about all of that, make a comment down below and let me know that that's something you'd like me to do. But I'm thinking about that and different travel and events, but certainly the realities of having a small YouTube channel, also the realities of aging. I'm thinking about doing a video on that as well. JJAD05 would like to know if I've ever been in any kind of in the middle of any kind of a natural disaster, like a hurricane or an earthquake. Well, I grew up, my early childhood up until about, I don't know, 8th grade or so, I lived in California. And yeah, I've been in earthquakes. It would seem like once or twice a year we'd have an earthquake. Nothing really bad, but we'd all duck under the desks, as they used to teach us in those days. Haven't been in a hurricane. What many people don't know is when Mount St. Helens blew its volcano top, all the ash went up into Washington, but it actually blew up 3 times within a very short time. And not too long after the initial blast, I had tickets to a Grateful Dead show in Portland. And interestingly enough, I went to the show, and for whatever reason, this is spooky, for whatever reason, as the second set was going, I looked at my watch, and at, I think it was 9:05. Remember, this is like 30 or 40 years ago, so I can't remember the exact time. But let's say 9:05. At 9:05, I looked at my watch, and the band was in the middle of Fire on the Mountain. After the concert, we went outside, and this was in June, and it was snowing, it looked like. And I'm going, how could it be snowing in June? Well, it wasn't snow, it was ash. The mountain had blown again, and the ash came this way towards Portland, which is where the concert was. And we didn't want the ash there because it ruins car engines, and I had to drive about 30 miles back home with severe volcanic ash. Luckily, it didn't hurt the car. But interestingly enough, when I was reading the article about the explosion the next day, it happened at 9:05. So right in the middle of the band playing Fire on the Mountain blew. Another, what I consider to be a natural disaster was, as I was living here, we had a very, and I mean very narrow, I'll call it a tornado. It was a big wind. I don't know what it was, but it took out our shed. It took out our a bunch of trees. There used to be a tree right here behind me, and it took that tree out. It took out a tree on the side of the house. Actually, it took two evergreen trees, large evergreen trees, out there, and we had to replace the shed, and I put down a patio right in front of the shed. JJAD05 had another question that I haven't answered yet, and it's what makes me happy? And I have to say that, as I mentioned earlier about the brain, I've gotten to the point where I watch the thoughts. However, one thing that really makes me happy is when people recognize me out on the street or in an event and they've seen this vlog. It's really important, this vlog, because it keeps me going. It keeps me from not just sitting around waiting for my exit date to show up. And when I talk about the realities, if you guys want me to, when I talk about the realities of having a small channel, I'm going to get into that even more. But it does make me happy when people recognize me. Also, I want to talk about the trip to Texas and how that made me happy as well. The next three questions are all related, and they're from Suzanne Cyphers, they're from Nancy Atkinson, and they're from Mona Griffin. And they all have to do with my trip to Texas. Now, if you haven't seen that vlog, you can see it right up there. But I went down to see some friends of mine who have a band, and they played at Green Hall, which is a fairly well-known Americana dance hall. It's the oldest dance hall in Texas that's still operating. So one question was, how did you like the Texas weather? I live here in the high desert, and when it gets warm, when it gets hot, it's bearable because the humidity is really low. On the other side of the Rockies, humidity is there all the time, and even though it was in the mid to high 70s most of the time, the humidity got to me, I have to admit. And how were the shows? The shows were good. The video I just told you about, I couldn't put a lot of their music in that particular vlog because of YouTube copyright issues, but you can see what they sounded like. And finally, what was my highlight of that weekend? And I have to say, it was all the Heathen fans. They are really something. Most of those that I hung out with are on the Band of Heathens Patreon page. And so they're patrons, and we all gathered, and the band gave us a private concert and spent a good hour just interacting one-on-one with the patrons. And what I couldn't believe was that the patrons were so happy to meet me. I couldn't believe it. The number of people who came up and were just so excited to finally meet me person to person, face to face, and who wanted ussies of us together. It was really, really overwhelmingly wonderful. Now, if you've made it this far, give yourself a pat on the back because you deserve it. If you thought of something that you wanted to ask me down below in the comments, and maybe I'll make another one of these. If you would like more talking head videos, put it in the comments, and I'll consider which ones. If you liked it, hit the like button and give it a thumbs up. I could always use subscribers, so you might consider subscribing. And next week, we've got something completely different, and we will see you next week.